my glasses. Amitabha.
Mitofa. Later on, if any of you got any questions, please speak clearly into the mic so that the recording can be taped properly. Your question. Speak clearly. Thank
Yeah.
you.
First, I want to talk a little bit about the Chan in the daily life. And we could say Chan just means practice. It doesn't matter what you are. How do we practice in the daily life? We practice in a way that we understand this world is an illusion or a dream. We understand that this is appearing in mind. So we don't cling to anything here. Of course, you still have to go to work. You can't call your boss up and say, I'm not coming to work because it's not even that good of a dream job. But you still do the things that you have to do. The Bible has a saying which is very interesting, which is that render unto Caesar what is Caesar. Caesar at the time was the emperor, and it's saying render unto him what is his. So if you get fined, you have to pay him, okay? And you understand that there's things that you have to do, your obligations as a child, a mother, father, friends, whatever. You're connected to the people around you and you harmonize with them. This idea of harmony is very, very important. We should not think that we are separate from everyone else. Our goal is to try to be as smooth as we can. We see the things very, very clearly, and we understand that everything that's appearing here isn't by accident. Nothing is by accident. It is according to Pratika Samappada. I have mentioned to you already, Pratika Samappada, causes and conditions never fail, is the Buddha mind. So every moment we are engaged in the Buddha mind. We allow the mind to define the environment around us. We don't allow the ego to define things. If you allow the ego to define things or the environment to define things, then you make a mess of this world. You don't understand it. And you are just tossed around because you don't understand how each little component of this world is connected. If I say something to you, even my thought and my speech will affect your consciousness and your memory. You may remember something very positive, or you may remember something very negative about what's saying. So we're constantly mindful of what we're putting into mind. It doesn't necessarily mean that one cannot have a disciplined mind or a firm mind, but we use it in proper measure. If we are a teacher, we cannot let the students be too lax, but then we cannot be too disciplined and too strict with them, because then it will not work. One of the things about the middle way that goes all the way back to Shakyamuni Buddha is that when the Shakyamuni Buddha was by the stream and he was looking for a sign that there was something to all of this, And when there was a stick, a wooden stick that was tossed in the water, the stick floated up the river. And he understood in this kind of a sign that there's something special here. And he understood that we cannot tighten the strings on the lute, the musical instrument, too tight, or it will break. Likewise, the string cannot be too loose, or it will not play music. So it is just the right effort that's used. This is a paramita, the right effort. And so we use the right effort to practice. When we sit, sometimes you have a good sitting and say, tomorrow I will sit for twice the time. But then halfway into it or a quarter way into it, your legs are already hurting. So you go, this is not working. So we do things in accordance with measuring correctly what we do. If we want to add time to meditating, we have to put in the time to practice in the proper way. If we practice and after 10 minutes, we have lost the method and we cannot get it back, then the next time only sit for 5 minutes, but do it perfectly and vow to hold the method for the 5 minutes and then slowly add time. You don't add time simply because the magic of the legs sitting there will produce a result. We can do that and we can punish ourselves in doing that, and we can get there, but we can do it faster and better by simply staying with the method, staying with what works, and the time will be added naturally, and you will feel more comfortable when you sit to meditate. In everything we do, we are very, very mindful about what we do, how we're engaged in people. Some people, they're very easy to talk to. The people here, it's very easy to talk to you. Some other places, you go to a government building or whatever, and maybe the people, they're not so easy to talk to. Next, hurry up. Didn't I just tell you? And you're going, but I don't understand. And so it's difficult, which gets to the next part of what is truly the most rewarding, most powerful, most wisdom and compassion, which is patience. We have to exhibit a great patience in everything that we do. Not just a little patience, but this incredible patience, this patience that has the ability to be able to encounter and endure anything that is there. So when we have a great patience, everything becomes clear. When we don't have patience, the mind is obstructed, it suffers. So if you're somewhere and it's so hot, you have to have patience. Here, I know I'm coming to Singapore. I'm coming to a place or from a place that is also hot, California. But there's a difference because your temperature is also have a high humidity. So it makes it appear to be more uncomfortable. So understanding this, before I used to have prepare, go, oh my gosh, I have to wear the thinnest t-shirt, the thinnest clothes or whatever. And I realized it didn't work that way. This time I came, I'm very patient. I know it's going to be hot. I'm in Singapore, and it's going to be humid. I'm in Singapore. So I just have a patience with that. And I know in some time I will go back to my own country, and it will be in a certain way. We see things in this way, and it's something very interesting because it changes. When I was younger, my zone of comfort was very narrow. If it's too loud, I don't like it, unless I was playing music. And if it was uh, too too dark, too bright, too many kids, whatever, I would lose my patience right away. And um, and so you end up becoming like a judge of the world. And so as you become the judge, what happens is your area of tolerance of things narrows and narrows and narrows, so that only if it's a perfect temperature, 68 degrees, maybe 70, but after that, then I don't like it. When is it ever in this range, like this perfect range? And so you suffer. But not only do you suffer, but you make the people around you suffer. So the people around you are are suffering because you're suffering. You want to make them feel you're suffering. That's ego. If we let go of these things and we become more tolerant, then the world becomes a easier place to navigate. Not only that, but we cause less suffering to others. Causing less suffering to others, the environment changes. The environment around us changes. And this environment is one that welcomes people to get near you. Have you ever been around a person that's always so angry? They're really, really angry. And you go, you know, here's your water. Blah. I didn't want tap water. I wanted soda water. Or it's too hot or whatever. And you're so afraid. Anything you say, good morning. What's so good about it? There's people like this here. Some of them you may know. Hopefully you're not one of them. But you have to be patient with those people too. It is something that we have to constantly be bringing up. This paramita is so important. When we're ill, we have to be patient. When am I going to get better? In due time, you'll get better. If you don't, then you die. That's just the way it is. But we understand these things. We understand how the world is, that it is not fabricated around our comfort zone. You see, the rich people, they have so much money. And yet they're probably the least patient people in the world, because they're used to being catered to, used to having this and that. And if somebody falls outside that idea, then they let people know about it. But the people, they serve them because they have to serve them, but not because they want to serve them. One of the things that I'm deeply humbled by, like when I come to places like this, is that people serve me, and they serve me not out of the title, but the respect of that I have something precious to offer. It's different. It's not that I have this title and I'm the general, so you have to salute me. That's different. They feel my heart and they want to help in any way. It's different when you're this way. So you should see everybody as a Buddha. And so you serve them like a Buddha. Not bad. What is the cost of doing that? Your ego. You have to give up your ego. If you don't give up your ego, then you want everybody to salute you. So this patience, it's so incredible. I recently wrote an article on this. It's on my Mind Work forum, and And it was profound enough. I had worked on it a couple of days or more, and it was interesting because 2 hours after I posted it, I received a notice that it's going to go into a magazine. And I'm happy about that, not because I wrote it, but because it points to mind. It points to the heart. And I wrote it with great sincerity, without the idea of the self, but illuminating the self and illuminating mind. The mind, when we illuminate the mind, it's just illuminating everywhere. When we illuminate the self, we are seeing that as something that is arising. Those two are not separate, but yet one is permanent and the other one is arising. But we transcend that idea, and our transcendence is a transcendence of patience as well. It's not our patience, it's the demonstration in mind of a reflection in mind of mind, the Buddha nature or the true nature. This is what makes Buddhism so wonderful, and it makes this understanding of Buddhism so incredible when one demonstrates mind. We don't try to copy it or take something out of a book to say, oh, this is mind, I should be this way. It takes time to understand what that means, to demonstrate mind. But it's different. You don't have to have a realization to do this. The demonstration of the mind will lead the mind to mind itself by its own nature, by naturally coming to this point of realizations. And when this happens, then we should not be so excited as if we got some kind of a prize. Then we just stop right there, wherever we're at. Then the train stops. But if we just keep going and not think that there's anything to attain, the mind becomes clearer and clearer. In the beginning, you will not notice it. And that's good. If you notice it, you're going to want a badge. You're going to want something. Hey, I had a realization, where's the band? And the cake or whatever. But it isn't in this way. As soon as you do that, you mess it up. The most progress I made was when I put down the idea of trying to get progress. Before I was there, just like everybody else sitting on the cushion, looking at your watch and saying, it's 10 o'clock now, maybe I can get enlightenment before lunch. And you mess it all up. But if you put it all down, you just put it down. You just learn to put down the ego. This patience pays off. You have the patience in the practice. You're no longer looking at your watch. I know none of you have ever looked at your watch during meditation, right? Sometimes you look at the watch and you could swear it's going backwards. That's in a retreat when you're there and your legs are killing you. Once I was at a retreat where one young man was reporting about his experience, and he was saying that one time that he had a session, and he was started off with his method, and then his method was, hit the bell or ring the bell, ring the bell, Paul. He knew the name of the time. Ring the bell, Paul. And then later it was, ring that bell, Paul, until finally he got to ring that damn bell. And that was his method. So he was very honest about how it was like that because he had too much ego. And so he was so frightened. And the time in that moment begins to go really slowly. So you think, oh, it's got to be now. It's got to be now. And if you look at your watch, you go, oh my God, I still have 20 minutes left. You're in trouble, and what happens when you say that you're in trouble? You don't have patience anymore. And the ego says, I told you not to come. I told you, move your legs just a little bit. Go on, go on. And the more and more you've lost your patience. We lose patience in so many different ways. Patience in the progress of our practice. We think we're going too slow. But then we read the sutras, and there's one bodhisattva that took the 5 kalpas to become enlightened. 5 kalpas. And what did he say after he became enlightened? Had I known the shortcut, I never would have spent 5 kalpas to do this. So there is a shortcut to the practice. If you have faith, if you have very good faith, if you put all the pieces together, it will work. So what are the pieces that go in there is all the things I'm mentioning about patience, the right effort in terms of doing it. One time, this one student asked the master, he really wanted to practice hard, and he said, how long do you think it'll take me? And the master said, about 10 years. And what if I double my effort? 20 years. So it's the right effort that we use, the right effort. It isn't that we are there and you're cooking something, so you want to eat faster, so you turn the flame up, right? Nobody's ever done that, right? And then you go to flip over the egg or whatever it is, and it's all black. And you say, well, at least on this side it's still good. The right effort, the right patience in everything that we do. When we're at work, the right patience. Don't be so much in a rush to go to lunch. My dad used to say, you don't go to school to eat your lunch. And he was an incredibly wise man. And it is in this way. So from the Mexican culture, we have a lot of sayings. So that was one that stuck with me. Another one that stuck with me was to learn to be a donkey, there's no school. So if you want to be a donkey, where do I sign up to be stupid? There is no school. But if you want to practice, if you want to be good at this, there's a school. You have to be patient. As you become patient in the practice, one of the things that you begin to realize, and finally realize, is that you're never in this lifetime going to read every single sutra. I don't know anybody who has ever done that. Maybe in the old days when there were 5 sutras to read, but with so many sutras to read, and they pop up all the time. As I was mentioning, that website, 84,000, and I do recommend you see it. There's some incredible sutras there. You realize how many more there are. And you go, I just barely was working on this one, or talking about the Lotus Sutra, or some sutras like the Diamond Sutra I've read many times, of course the Heart Sutra. But some of them, it's difficult to get back around to them. The Prajnaparamita Sutra, I've read a lot of it. The 100,000 line one, no, I haven't gotten that far, but the 8,000 line one, no, there's some that I can read. But to really say you read it and penetrated it, but you have a patience in learning, and you learn how to learn the Dharma. You learn that the Dharma sometimes works in very, very strange ways, at least to me. And sometimes I walk along my book case, and somebody had a question or whatever, and I'll even just run my hands along the books and stop and open it up, and in that very page, randomly open, is the answer. How can that be? How can that be that the answer was right there on that very page? But it happens. It's nothing special. It's just the mind helping you. Mind can do that where you run into the things that you need. It will be given to you. We don't understand that because we are limited in our understanding of how mind works by our samsaric experiences. But if one lets the mind free, like Master Suzuki said, give your mind a wide pasture to roam in, you'll find there's so many incredible things that the mind is capable of doing. It truly is in this way. In my first retreat, I was suffering quite a bit. And I had already had a class that I was teaching, and I could sit for 2 hours straight. But I knew I was in trouble at this retreat when my legs were already hurting me, and they were just giving the instructions the very first night. And I'm going, this is going to be bad. And it just kept getting worse and worse. And in the evening, I was in such a bad shape. And it was such a strict retreat, very, very strict retreat. You couldn't move at all, you know. Like you move right now, your hand, they go, no moving. But I just moved my hand like this. It didn't matter, no moving. And so because I remember there was time, it was like my nose was itching, and I was moving my hand up like this, you know, to try to get, no moving. And I look at the two people on both sides of me, and they hadn't moved for what appeared to be hours. They're like stone lions. I was suffering. And so when finally I heard the click, click, ding, I went to the front in front of the Chan Hall, and there was a statue of Guan Yin. And I went, you know, I'm really suffering bad. I'm cussing everybody. I'm even cussing Master Shen Ying and saying, how can you possibly have people come and make them suffer this way? You know, it's your fault that I'm here, and you must enjoy seeing the people suffer this way. And I went, I'm having all these foul thoughts. I'd never had so many foul thoughts as much as in that one period of sitting. And I said, I'm suffering and I'm failing and I'm going to fail, and I want to get out of here like right now. It was so bad that the night before, they had a novice monk that literally jumped the fence and left. And then the next morning, all the cushions were pulled in tighter. And then, what happened wasn't there? No. I could have, no, there wasn't. Because I didn't want to leave an empty cushion, because then they'll say, oh, that's like a fallen comrade, you know. His robe is just there, rest in peace. So instead, they just closed it all up. And I'm going, I'm surely in hell. And I was in great health. And when I was there, I then just started prostrating to Kuan Yin, saying, look, I'm teaching people and I'm a failure. How can I go home? And they say, how was your retreat? It was, it was a failure. You know, how can I have the faith to teach people? I go, it's not just for me, it's for those who I'll bring to the Dharma. I have to have the faith to do this. And so when I was there, I um, I kept doing the prostrations. I didn't realize they had already started. And I went, oh my gosh, now they're starting. I'm there, you know, who knows, they would probably think I'm, you know, run away too. And and so finally I came back in and I kneel before the timekeeper and he's just looking at me, what are you doing? I go, you know, you said you have to come in, if not that you have to kneel, just tell me where I have to kneel. And you just go back to sit. And so I sat. And something very funny happened was that when I sat, I had no pain whatsoever. My body was, as I say, in a sublime state, wanting nothing, needing nothing, so calm, so peaceful, so incredible. I really uh, can't even describe the feeling. As if somebody waved a wand over me and took away my suffering just in that moment. And I'm going, how can this be? How can I be in such terrible suffering and in the next moment it's all gone? This this is amazing. How can that possibly be? And then I heard click, click, ding. And when it did it, I just remember it was so silly. I stood up and I just spread my legs out and went, ta-da, like a magician, like literally like a magician, ta-da. And and even as I was saying that, I was laughing to myself how stupid that was. But there was this joy that I had that I realized what had happened, all of the suffering was in my mind. I was creating it. And the Guan Yin had mercy to be able to take that away. It is why I'm talking to you now, to repay that precious, precious moment when that happened to me. Because I know what happened. I know I was in pain. I know I wasn't in pain. And it's all created by the mind. And I want to, to share those kinds of experiences with you so that you have faith in the practice and faith in yourself to do this, that you can do it. But the faith in the mind that enables you to understand there's things that you as an individual, as an ego, do not understand or can never understand. But there's these little seams or breaks in what we think is reality that change things tremendously. And if you're patient, if you use the right effort, if you're sincere, mind will reveal itself to you in so many different ways you cannot believe it. You truly cannot believe what mind can do. Not your mind, but mine. There was a time when I was at a retreat and Master Shen Yang uh, was talking about a story of this old master that had an attendant that served him for many, many years. And so he had, there's a chair there, sir. Oh, you're just passing through. Okay. All right. We'll catch him on the next slide. But in any case, the attendant went to the master and he said, Shifu, you know, I've always got your tea for you. You know, I brought you your food, even clean your clothes, arrange everything for you. And you go everywhere. I follow you, but never have you ever um, given me even a little bit of dharma. I said, well, you hear me all the time. No, but you've never given me any personal instruction. And the master said, you want personal instruction? And he said, yes. And so the master looked at his robe, you know, it was an old robe. And he goes, you want a thread of the Dharma, a piece of it? And so he worked on his robe and he got a little thread like this. And he and the attendant said, yes, please, Shukla, please. And he says, here. And he goes, well, here's your Dharma. And the attendant instantly became enlightened. Instantly became enlightened. And I went, what? How? Wait. How did this happen? How did this happen? How could it happen? This doesn't make any sense. Why? Just simply blowing a thread at him made him enlightened. It drove me crazy. It was at the beginning of a retreat. And it stuck on me like a huato. It became my huato. Why? Why did he become enlightened? Just blowing the thread in his face and he becomes enlightened. How can it be like that? That doesn't even make any sense. So I was like stuck with this, and I would be sitting there on the cushion. Why? I click, click, ding. Why? End of the evening, walking back to my dormitory. Why? Come, going to sleep. Why? Waking up. Why? Brushing my teeth. Why? And it was driving me crazy. Eventually, I went to eating, and I was only eating this wato. Why? I couldn't even see the food as food. I had no appetite. I had no interest in sleeping. All I wanted to do is, why did this happen? And it was so, I was so consumed with this. And I I thought, you know, Shifu even says, Gilbert, if you're not hungry, just go sit, go practice. He understood what was happening to me. And so everybody else was oblivious, you know, because all this why was in my head. I was just acting very unusual, but everybody was, you know, into their own thing. My legs are killing me or whatever in that moment, but I didn't have anything killing me. This Wato was killing me, literally, because I wasn't eating, I wasn't doing anything, and then the next day I'm there at the dining table, and again with a bowl with nothing in it, just looking at it and going, this is not good. I'm not even eating anymore. And I go, I have to resolve this. What happened? How did that happen? And so finally I said, let me picture it. Let me picture what was happening. I need to see this. And so I saw the old master from the old master's eyes. So from the old master's eyes, I saw him looking down and picking a thread out of his coat or his robe and going like this and holding it and then putting it here like this, you know, to just straighten out the thread so it wasn't curved or anything. It was there. And then I saw him going like this to take a breath. And then I saw him go. And when he blew, something strange happened. I was instantly on the other side. And the from the viewpoint of the attendant, and I literally felt a breath hitting my face. Like literally felt it, not imagination, but if somebody just went, and in that time period, I had hair. I can't say it now, but my hair actually flew up. It flew up, so I knew. And I was there, and I just went like, huh, like it was beyond any kind of what anybody could say of a response. It was just, why, and it was answered in that moment. In that very moment, everything collapsed, completely collapsed. And it was as if you were watching a play and all the scenery goes down. And there's like a pause for the reboot, and then it comes back up. Boom. And I'm looking at it and going, huh? And it was an experience you cannot say there's a particular emotion tied to it, but there was a flood of emotion that made me want to laugh and cry at the same time. And which is what I was doing. So I probably looked like I was ready for an insane asylum. But I was holding it back, and I remember I went to see Shufu, and in that retreat, my job was keeping his room in order. So I had access to him, and I was trying to explain to him, but I couldn't really explain because I couldn't even put words together. All I could say is, I don't know if I should laugh or cry. And he said, it's okay to cry. And I just started crying and crying. And I went outside or into the hallway, and I was crying and crying. People were looking at me like, what happened to you, And I would look at them and I'd laugh, and go back to crying. And what I wanted to tell you about this is it's as if that master had another disciple that he blew into my face, transcending all time to do that, because I was sincere in that, not expecting at all anything, but yet that happened. And I will tell you, I am not lying or embellishing it. And if I did, may my tongue be cut out in hell every day. It happened the way I said it happened. How can that happen? How can somebody from a few hundred years ago blow into your face? This is mind. Mind is incredible, is very, very incredible. And it enabled me to see through this world as being a dream. It's the only way that it can be in this way, for this to transcend in that way. And it is something that I want to share with you, not because, that was such a great thing or I'm such a enlightened person or anything like that. I wanted to share with you that so that you have faith that there's things beyond what you think are there in practicing. The more sincere you are, the more mind will reveal itself to you in incredible ways. You in terms of touching the experiences of what one can do, mind will teach you. It teaches you all the time. It teaches you when you're sleeping. And at this point in my practice, 80% of the articles I write, I'm taught them during my sleep. And I have to wake up and write them in the morning. And that sounds incredible, but that's just the way it is for me now. Is that mind reveals, and when I'm very relaxed, if I'm practicing, normally I practice all the way up until when I go to sleep. And then when I go to sleep, it's so easy to fall asleep. And then begins instruction in many different ways. But mind is this way. It can do this. I know it sounds very incredible, but it can do this. I tell you this so you have a faith in mind that this very mind that you have, the Buddha mind, will reveal itself to you. It will reveal itself to you in many different ways. If you have patience, it will come to you. If you're looking for it, it'll never come to you. I never go to the sleep with the idea that I'm going to go to a school or a class or to get some kind of a realization. I never do that. I just go to sleep. And then sometimes in the morning, all that information is there, and I just begin to write. I don't leave my bed until I finish writing. Even if I got up to go to the restroom, when I come back, I will lose it. I will not remember what, because I tried that before. I went, oh, I have to go to the bathroom, but this is so good, I got to write it down. And then when I come back, I go, I don't remember what that was. It was gone. But if I don't break that thread, I can write and write and write. And I just write until there's nothing left to write. You have to have patience, but I'm telling you this again, not to make you think that I'm so great. I don't want you to think that. What I want you to do is to do it yourselves. Get to a level of practice that will happen. There was a story from very early on in my practice before I became a Buddhist that about this one alchemist, person that works with metals. And this, he was very good master that he could convert any metal to gold. And so people would always come to his place and knock on his door. He was very kind. So if they brought him this bowl, he would look at it, take it back, and bring it back, and it would be gold. So he freely shared everything with the people to give them the gold. Once there was a knock on the door and he opened the door, he didn't see anybody there. And then he looked down and there was a young boy there, just standing there. And he's going, hello, Shifu. And the master just looked at him and says, what do you want? I don't see that you have anything metal that you want me to turn into gold. And he just shook his head. And he says, what do you want? And he said, I want to know how you do it. I want to share to you how to do it. This is important. You cannot believe how powerful, how great mind is, how much easier it makes this world. How when you live in this life without fear or confusion, how easy life is. It doesn't mean that you don't, I shouldn't say suffer, you don't experience things. Today, this morning, I woke up with a bit of a cold, but I don't suffer from it. I feel uncomfortable a little bit in the throat, but it doesn't matter. That's just impermanent. And so when we see things, we still can navigate in this world. We don't have to suffer from it. I have to take care of it, and in doing things, and take a rest, but I still can function in this world. I don't go like, oh, of all time, why would I have to get a cold? I'm going to speak today. No, you just understand it, you take care of it. And mind takes care of you too. I have so many bodhisattvas that are helping me with different medicines. Their only fault is they might over-medicate me, but at least they're helping me. And it's just this way that we see things, that the help will come to us. It's natural. It's causing conditions that are that way. One doesn't expect it or wait for it or say, or demand it. It comes naturally. And to me, when I see that, I'm very happy. And I'm very happy when people want to give respect, because then I'm the object of that respect. And I understand that helps them too. It's just as if when we bow to the Buddha, as we're bowing to the Buddha, we're bowing to our own innate Buddha essence. So we see things in this way. We have to finally understand about compassion. And compassion is the greatest of all realizations in mind. We can have the understandings of how mind works, but if we do not have this unbridled, unconditioned compassion, it will not work as well. We'll not be able to transcend. But with a great compassion, you can really begin to understand Buddha Dharma more, understand mind. Because when you're exhibiting this kind of unconditional compassion, it's Buddha nature. If you think, oh, I'm going to do this because I want to become a Buddha, it's not going to work. That's conditional compassion. You want to give compassion to get something back. It is when we don't seek anything, but moment to moment give compassion, that it is in this way. A couple of years ago, I was transferring merit to one of my students' sons, only 8 years old at the time, and he had contracted stage 4 cancer, very serious. And I knew it was very, very serious. So I was always transferring merit to him. At any moment, I would transfer merit to him, especially in the evening. I would sit there and with my beads, and I would be transferring merit to him. And then it came when his mother said, you know, he's in the cancer hospital for the children. All of them are so sick. And for her, she was seeing the children. Sometimes she would go there and there would be an empty bed, which meant that that child didn't make it. And so she was really needed assistance. And so I was transferring merit to her, transferring merit to a child. But when she told me that, I started incorporating transferring merit to all the children in that hospital. So it was as if you tried to. I would see the young man there, and maybe the mother and the family. And I would see all these other children that I would transfer merit to that also were ill like him. And then I started thinking, what about all the children in all hospitals? And so I would visualize simultaneously using the mind awareness to see all the other children. Again, this is not the scale, obviously, but all the children. And then I said, what about the children or all of the people that are in the hospital that are not children, but are ill? and they too are suffering. And so I would add more. Layers upon layers of people. Now, every night, I'm chanting for them. And then what about the ones in the past? They too need help. And those in the future, they need help too. They will need it in the future, the ones in the past, to wish them well and also mitigate the illnesses that they had, because mind isn't limited from past, present, and future. Mind is all of those things. As it said, to know all the Buddhas of the past, present, and future, perceive everything's created by the mind. So this kind of a transferring of merit is a merit that is unlimited. So you open your heart to transfer merit in this way. The recipient here still receives a full dose of it. You are not diluting it by including more people. In fact, you're enhancing it. And so as you begin to do this and you see there's even more people that are sick or need help that you can do this to. And you learn how to transfer merit. You are not transferring merit from yourself. You're transferring merit from the heart, from Kuan Yin. It's unlimited. The hardest part is to be able to make the transition from you giving the merit, which is limited in terms of how much you can do, to transitioning to transferring merit as Guanyin Bodhisattva. When one can transfer merit in this way, it explodes. This is why they said in the Shurangama Sutra that one takes care of the gadfly and the mosquito, because it explodes infinitely. Infinite. And mind is just in this way. So if you really want to give blessings to one person who really needs it, you put them there, but then you also put it there. So in my practice now, I do this, but I have a different way of practicing, which is first to transfer merit to particular people that need my assistance. And then I practice Namo Wanching Pusa, Namo Wanching Pusa, Namo Wanching Pusa, Namo Wanching. And for everyone, but then there's a shift in this. You got hang in there with me, because this shift is very amazing. Because as we begin to shift it, it isn't, I shift into listening and projecting, but first listening, and what will come will be information coming in. Information from people praying to Kuan Yin Bodhisattva, people praying to God, people praying to Mohammed or whoever, different ways, people that are praying, that need help. And in turn, receiving this kind of a radar signal, it goes back out, bouncing back in this way. about a couple of weeks ago, I was doing this, and one of my friends, a significant other, was by me. And in that moment, I heard a woman's voice crying for help, very, very much in pain. And my friend went, "What was that?" I said, "What was what?" "That woman was crying." "Where did that woman come from?" She heard it. She heard the woman, and she was stunned. She distinctly heard the woman at that moment when the woman was crying. But it was hard for her because she didn't know what I was doing. All she knew was that what I was hearing. And she goes, "Please don't do that. You know, it makes me frightened." And I said, "I can't help it." I didn't know that she would get that. No, it wasn't something, that she heard. It was very late at night. And so there was no other sounds. But she actually heard that woman that was there. So don't think this is something that just made up. I was stunned that she had heard it, but she has a very great heart. But to hear that, for her, to me, it was very amazing. But I can't stop that practice. But I don't know why she was able to hear her. And sometimes it's that way. Sometimes it's collective, but sometimes the voices will come very distinctly. Other times it's just an understanding, like a wave coming in, and then the compassion going out, and then the suffering coming in, and one is using the hearing method to do this. We'd probably say that this is an advanced technique. But I wanted to tell you something, to share with you, that not because it's something great or something that I can do, but for you to be able to reach out indiscriminately, to feel the suffering of others, to have the patience to be able to do that. Sometimes people say, we make the vow to deliver others before ourselves, and they say, what's the use? We'll never be able to get to them all. There was a story in which about a woman after a storm, and the beach was filled with crabs. I don't know if anybody's ever heard this story. The beach was filled with crabs, and she was walking along the shoreline and throwing the crabs back into the water. And some man came around her and said, "You foolish old lady, what difference will it make?" So some of you may think, what's the difference in this lifetime? How can we make a vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings? With patience, with great patience. So in that moment, she picked up a crab and threw it back into the water. And it said, it mattered for that one. I said that story, and then the next time, because I used to surf, and so the next time on that next Saturday, I went to the beach to surf, and lo and behold, there was a woman doing that. She was throwing the crabs back into the water. I never even seen crabs on the shoreline before like that. But there she was, like a bodhisattva, throwing them in. And there was another time when I was surfing, and I was uh, down the shoreline from the pier, and I was surfing, and my attention was drawn to something by the pier, and I went, that's funny. And I was looking, maybe the waves are better. Why is my attention drawn over there? So I got out of the water, and I told the people that I was surfing with, I'm going to go try the waves down by the pier. So I started walking down there, looking at the water, and I saw these Asian people um, coming up to me. And they're speaking in a language I didn't know. It wasn't Chinese. It might be Malay or something, or Cambodian or something. It wasn't something I understood at all. And so they're they're pointing, and I'm going, what? The waves are better over there? I had no idea what they were saying to me, but I kept walking, and they kept walking with me, going, come, come, come. And I didn't know what they were saying, but it was quite a ways to walk to the pier. And and so as I was getting closer, I saw on the shoreline, there was a monk with a table and a red tablecloth on it, and this big bucket that was on it. And I'm like kind of like trying to figure out what they want me to do. But they were very politely but imperatively pulling me. And and then showing me to the table. And there was a monk there that was praying, and then it dawned on me what had happened, because at that particular pier in the morning they uh, they sell fish. The boats come in early, because when you surf, you get there at dawn. The boats had come in and dropped off their catches, and there's a fish market there. And they had bought up all the fish in the fish market, and they're all in this bucket, but they didn't know how to get it out to the water. And it finally figured out what they were doing. They wanted to use my surfboard to float it out so that they could drop the fish in the water. And it was something that I was guided to that particular moment in that point, to be a vehicle to help them save these sentient beings. It's very amazing, but very incredible to experience something like that. And and I don't even think they truly understood what was happening on my side, in terms of that I was being drawn there to, like a bodhisattva, to help them take the fish out further into the water. Because if you dump them on the shoreline, they'll just flop and die there. You had to take them out further so that they could live. But mind works in this way. It's If you see the things, you will see there's many kinds of ways where mind works. And if you understand it and you have faith in mind, and faith in the Dharma, faith in the Sangha, and faith in yourself. When we say yourself, it's your own self-nature that you have to have faith in. That this very mind that you're using is the self-nature of mind. If you have this faith, mind will open like a lotus. It will display in so many different ways. You cannot believe it. Again, I don't talk to you about these things like to introduce you to a Harry Potter world. What I'm trying to do is explain to you how mind works. And when you have faith like this, then you understand how limitless this compassion is in everything that you do. If you practice this way, you'll never be far from it. You never have to worry about if you're getting close or not. So thank you. And I'll open it up to questions.
Sadhu.
Good afternoon. I'd like to refer to your talk this morning. If the sky is empty, do I use my sword to cut it this way or cut it this way?
It doesn't matter how you cut it. It's still baloney.
Thank you, sir.
Good baloney. It can be in any way. The mind, what's the most important is what's behind it. There is something, but it is not a phenomena. It's indescribable. So I invite you to slice. Yep, just keep trying. Good.
Good afternoon, Teacher Gilbert. I have 4 questions. The first one is when you talk about patience, how do I know that whether we are pushed too hard or we are just being lazy? Then second question.
One question at a time.
Oh, that'd
then
be great.
we will pass
Thank
to
you.
others.
Oh, sorry.
We will pass to others before coming back to you again.
Oh, then I
Okay,
choose
you
the
just choose
most
your
important
We can
question.
do this. I promise I'll come back to you. The question is, how do you know when you're practicing too hard or too little?
Pushing too hard on certain things. Thank you.
Your question's a very, very good question. And it varies in accordance to people and in accordance with their ability. To somebody who's just beginning, then 5 minutes, 10 minutes of, let's say, of meditation might be the right amount. If you've been practicing for 20 years, then probably you want to practice longer. You follow your heart. You follow your heart. Your heart will tell you if you're practicing too little or you're overdoing it. You have to understand that. And Master Shen Yen used to always talk about following your heart. Your heart is your intrinsic nature. So when we practice, we know sometimes I think people err more on the fact that they're overdoing it because it's hard for us to justify when we're meditating or we're reading the sutras and we go, I could be watching the TV right now, Dancing with the Stars is on or whatever, that's more important, or I can be washing my clothes or sorting my socks. So we put the Dharma study in the same category as in terms of that, but it isn't in this way. You keep increasing, and you don't increase just for the sake of volume, but as you study, you find that there's more that comes out of it. So in the sincerity of practicing comes an interest in adding more time. I cannot tell you, you've been practicing for 20 years, you should be putting at least an hour and 45 minutes in. No, it's you practice all the time. And I remember going to this one Center Chan Grove in Taiwan, and somebody asked me, what is my daily practice? And they were so surprised and humbled by how much practice I put in a day of different kinds, all day long. No, but that's me, and because I need to practice sincerely and deliver sentient beings, it is in this way. But for other people, again, you practice from your heart. You don't try to force it, but you don't just practice a very short time. The masters say, little practice produces little realization. Great practice produces great realization. So it's all up to you. And we practice in accordance with our ability to practice. Again, to a beginner, they have to begin slowly to be able to understand. But as you become mature in your practice, and the sutras talk about the maturation of the practice. So this maturation of the practice, then you should be adding some time. So you follow your heart. And as you begin to practice, every moment becomes a moment of practice. This is a moment of practice to me. Before coming here, studying for coming here, and I studied for just this class. I studied last night and I studied this morning. So to me, because of the maturation of my practice, I know it's important for me to prepare. So it just depends. Again, you will understand this following the heart. The more you trust your heart, the more you will practice. You'll see. You have a good condition to practice. You know, and your protector is Kuan Yin. Okay, I don't know if you know that, but anyway, so you don't let Kuan Yin down. We got one back here first.
Hello, Master Gilbert. This is the question I wanted to ask during yesterday's workshop. So, Master Gilbert, you talk a lot about great compassion, unconditioned compassion, and bodhisattvas, through their power of the vows, they return to deliver sentient beings. My question is about how do bodhisattvas come back? Because unenlightened sentient beings like us, we come back via the ignorance 12 nidanas. So for bodhisattvas, how do they come back? Do they come back as an energy force? Because do they have the 12 nidanas, or is it the 8 consciousness alaya diagram which you drew yesterday? Thank you.
Your question is a very, very good question. Her question is that if we make the vow to return here to deliver sentient beings, how do we do it? And little by little, I've been figuring this out. Before I just make the vow, and I was thinking, oh, I'm going to come back. I hope I'm an orphan, so I'm adopted by a temple to come back because I want to practice early on in my life. But this is my way of just trying to say that I made the vow before, but it took me a long time before I became a Buddhist practitioner. But my whole life I was practicing, but it came to the Dharma later on in the line. So when we begin to practice, the wisdom of the mind enables us to open up more. Now my eyes are more open and I understand more how to do that. So we set a course first to come back. So this is the vow. The vow will bring us here, especially if one has taken the Bodhisattva vows. Even more, our vows are strengthened and they last lifetime after lifetime. So I must have taken the Bodhisattva vows in the past to have this kind of an interest in wanting to do this. But the great masters, they can set the course of where they're going to appear as they're passing away. They have that ability. I don't think I have that ability, but I have a general direction. You know, at least I know I'll land on Earth, but, you know, and as a human being, but where, you know, you want to come into, you know, it would be good, let's say, to me now I see to coming into a Buddhist family, a family that practices Buddhism, and then kind of let them know, hey, I'm already a practitioner. So you come in trying to remember early your vows and trying to do that. I know I've done this before, you know, and my master, there was one time, actually the very first retreat I went to, and he pulled me out of the retreat because at the time I was an attorney, and we held a business meeting. And there was another monastic there, college-educated monastic, and he was very eloquent. And I said, you know, you could have been an attorney. And Master Shen Yang didn't miss a beat. He just pointed his finger at me and said, and you should have been a monk. And it was just that way. I should have been a monk. And he knew it, you know, and so sometimes it's this way, the cosmic conditions don't go that route. But the power of the vow is incredible. There's an aspiration there that we aspire to do this, and we let that guide us. So when we pass away and there's a bardo period, the power of that vow will find the right place to become reborn, and to the right people, the conditions that bring forth this kind of a place where one can generate or regenerate the vow early on in their life. So it's this way, but we have to use our mind. We have to direct the mind in everything we do. When I'm talking about this up here, it's directing the mind. It's directing the mind, the heart mind, to transfer merit to people and opening it up in this way. And when the mind is directed in this way, it just goes, hey, he broke the code. Show him something more. Show him something more. Reveal more. Of course, there's not somebody sitting there in a room going, go, Gilbert broke the code doing it. But I'm just kind of saying this is how mind works. As one does that and one uses the power of these vows, then the vows will fulfill due to this aspiration of this practitioner. So the same thing for you. If you want to come back, then you begin to set your sights that you want to come back in this way. Cosmic conditions never fail. Of course, you know, if you're a very bad person and you have the vow to spread the Dharma, that's not going to be very good because cosmic conditions never fail. You know, you probably not going to do too well in terms of where you're going to end up at. But if your practice is sincere, the more sincere it is, the more clearly define where you will reappear again. Bearing in mind, it's not you that reappears. It's just mind reappearing because your ego doesn't reappear. But just this current in mind continues on. Okay, good question. Yeah, all right. Oh,
Thanks. Thanks, Master Gilbert, for the talk this morning as well as this afternoon. So talking about daily life, I do have a question. Like, so how does one practice like Chan with regard to like your relationships in your daily life, like be it with your partner and with your family? Like how does one practice Chan?
All the time, and you practice it well. It's very important. So how do you practice Chan in a daily life? You practice it well. It's just the things I was mentioning to you. You have to use the right effort, patience, the compassion, wisdom, all of these things. You're constantly reminding yourself that you're a practitioner. And to me, I do a lot of recitation. And I follow my master in practicing Chan, but also Nianpo, you know, just practicing the reciting of the Buddha's name. So this is important. Are you working on the feedback? Okay, so this is important for us to do this. So you're constantly enveloping yourself in the practice. Somebody who's young, and even more so when you get to my age, you know, now, you know, you can do something with this body. And so it is in this way that we practice, and in sincerity. We never practice to become a master. I don't think I had an aspiration to become a master that's something that just is thrown on you, or a Dharma error. It's when I heard Shifu say that I'm going to be a Dharma error, and even before that, when he confirmed Inca on me, I realized my life was going to change dramatically. And so he had enough wisdom to trust me that I would fulfill as much as I can his visions. And so in everything you do, you want to fulfill the visions of what you believe the practices and Buddhist practices. And as you begin to practice more, your idea of what those visions are will mature. And you'll begin to see a much bigger picture. It will happen to you if you practice sincerely. You don't have to go, well, how long is that going to be? Like I said, if you practice extra hard, it'll be 20 years instead of 10 years. But you practice steady and sincerely. You follow your heart, and it will come, as you begin to study. And for you, you have to practice as well as penetrate the sutras, because then you'll be destined to be somebody that can make a big difference in the world. So just by virtue of the question you ask, this is already, where you're headed. So just keep heading that way. Okay? All right.
Thank you, Master. I had a question on this.
Sure.
You told us your story. So you started with blessings for one person, and then expanded and expanded. How do you actually do that? Because here's my experience. When we do the metta practice, it used to feel forced. It used to feel, oh, I have to send blessings, kindness, compassion here and here and here. But there were some instances where the I disappeared. And then it used to be like a small battery, but then it became like the sun, limitless. And that doesn't happen all the time. I don't know the trick. I don't know the magic there.
It was in the sincerity of the practice and the maturation. So as you practice in a sincere way, you're exposed to this kind of an infinite light. But because you're still not ready for it, it's a teaser. It's like a coming attraction at the movies. Okay. And so like the new Star Wars series, and I don't know how many ships they can blow up or planets they can blow up. I think they've done enough harm to the world. But in terms of this, it is something that you just practice. Because you perceive something, don't try to go back, and retrace your steps to do that. You just do what got you there initially. What I was mentioning to you to get to here, I left out part of the story. Sometimes I'm hesitant to talk about things like this because they sound too fantastical, or people will get the wrong idea of what I'm saying. But you, as an individual, cannot do this. Okay? You can't send it out infinite like that. You got to feel for it, but that's because your self dropped off. But as I began to do this layer after layer, and now I'm not just talking about the present moment, but I'm talking about future and past as well, because I transmit merit to the people in the past. They receive the benefit already, but I have to pay it now. Or I'm also transferring merit to where somebody that died, where they're at now, which is now in the future, or could be in the present moment. There's no difference. It's a different way of looking at the world, that we don't look at it in the stream of consciousness like this. But mind encompasses everything. It's different. But in that moment, when I was one time, I was losing the ability, because I went, how could I possibly spread this Dharma? I'm not able to do that. No matter how much I try, I can't spread this Dharma. So I'm there meditating with this, but I want to push out more. I want to reach more. I want to touch all sentient beings. But I couldn't do it. No matter how much I tried in my mind would limit me. I would be bouncing off of the borders of samsara. So the borders of samsara are like what we're capable of doing with our own consciousness. But I wanted to use the heart in a way where it would be able to go beyond what I was doing. And I kept pressing and pressing. And what was pressing me was that I really wanted to push out, to spread this compassion further, to cover more ground. But the sense of self in samsara was keeping me from being able to do that, even though I still had the idea of this. One day or one night, I was doing this and I felt like a pop, like a boop. And there was another head that popped up, and then another head that popped up, and another head. And it just went this way, where I literally felt boop, boop. And it enabled me, every time I went boop, there was more here to the infinite. That's the only way I can explain it, is in this way where the mind pushed out. And this mind awareness pushed out so far that it was enabled to spread to more sentient beings. Where before I was limited by my consciousness, even though trying to use the mind awareness, I was still struggling with that. But the sincerity of the vow, the sincerity of the interest in doing it, enabled me to push it out further. And in this pushing out, I had this sensation of this. And it was spontaneous. It wasn't something, oh, let me recall something. It just happened in that way. And so you have to use your heart. When I say your heart, not your own heart, but the self-nature, to be able to do that. And so the more that you push out, the more the mind will expand. That's why they say, if your mind expands, or if your vision expands 1,000 miles, the mind will follow. It will always be there. If it contracts, it contracts. But when you're using this kind of compassion, it expands to the infinite. And so you understand that. And it changes things. Again, you're probably not going to hear too many lectures like this. It's different. And I tell you this with some trepidation or concern that people will misinterpret what I'm saying and take a piece of it and say, oh, Gilbert, thinks he's Kuan Yin Pusa. No, I'm not. I'm Amitabha. No, and see, then people are going to take that and play that little snip of information, taking it out of context. I don't want you to take it out of context, but I want you to, I truly want you to see the infinite of mind itself. This is what Shakyamuni Buddha wanted to share. He comes out of under the Bodhi tree, and his mind's in the absolute. He's there and is in the absolute and going like, how am I going to explain this to doing it? So he goes and explains the 12 nidanas, but people really don't understand that. So he has to limit it down a little bit. And then as the maturation of the practice of the practitioners, then people began to go, oh, I know what he was talking about. Oh my gosh, do you understand what he just said? And what is happening in the 12 nidanas? And what is the practice of in these 12 nidanas? The first one's ignorance, the last is death and life before that one. And it's what is happening is he's showing you the way, which is to reverse engineer samsara. Reverse engineer all the way till it gets to ignorance. And when it gets to ignorance, the ignorance is gone because it was never there in the beginning, because it was nothing but radiant light, infinite radiant light. There was not you. But mind did create you in some kind of a blip in the system. And from that ignorance, all these things came. And Shakyamuni Buddha realized that. It's very incredible. This is what I want to share to you. You have to try to use your heart to feel this. Okay? And if you can, it would be good. Okay, next question. I have to keep moving on.
Amitabha. I would like to ask, how do you reconcile and function in the apparent and absolute reality when you are working? I'm asking this question is because after a retreat, after one retreat, when I was in the office, I was working and I was looking at what I was working on. So it's a very strange feeling. And there is a sense of guilt because I was supposed to be in the retreat for 1 week, but I ended up in the office maybe total about 1 month to be observing what I was doing in the office. So there was a sense of guilt because I felt that I didn't really put full effort into my work. So yeah, that was how that was why I stopped a few years not going into a retreat, because I was like, okay, if I'm getting deeper and deeper into my practice, how do I function when I'm back? Because we are not like, we are as a lay person, our environment is different. We may have different obligations. So would like to understand, how did you do it?
you should actually function better at work because when you have, you don't have the idea of the self, then your mind should be in the present moment and being able to perform your work better so that you're not attaching yourself to any vexations. The mind can be single-mindedly purposed to whatever function you're on. So it is a bit of an indulgence of the remnants of your experience that you don't want to let go. But your mind should be able to shift uh, between all of these. So when we're there, as I mentioned, a bodhisattva has one foot in the apparent reality and the other in the absolute reality, and there's a balance that's there. When one experiences something like the absolute, then there's sometimes a difficulty trying to adjust that, but we adjust it and we understand how it is. Like, as I had mentioned to you before, you render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's. So if you're at work, you have to do the work. You can't just sit there and think of twirling flowers. So, you have to work. But the work is not work. Work is just following the function. So when you go to a retreat, when you come back, you should be able to function better. There may be a couple of days if you've had some kind of experiences where you have to adjust to that. But you don't have to lose that feeling. You just have to learn through the maturation of your practice how to focus and focus yourself on the job. So, you're not there. I always think of it as who is the one that liked the Beatles? They're still here? The girl that was based on, I don't think I see her. There's a song called Day in the Life. And there's a part that says he blew his mind out in the car. He didn't know that the light had changed. And so it's something like saying, you lost your focus or your concentration. And this is kind of a day in the life moment when you're at work and you're going, he blew his mind out in the car, and you're like, oh, because you're back at the retreat. You have to focus yourself. And when you focus yourself, you could still focus it and not lose that experience. It's just that experience is now translated, instead of sitting in meditation, to your work. And then it will work. Otherwise, it's just your ego trying to mess you up and say, oh, you can't go back to the retreats because, you're going to blow your mind out in a car, but it isn't in that way. It's the opposite. You should be able to work very clearly. As an attorney, I had to juggle many cases simultaneously. And I was very good at that. I was much better doing that because of my practice, not in spite of the practice, because I was able to really manage multifunctioning or multitasking. And so don't be afraid of going back to the retreat. Just apply the same effort that you did to the meditation to your work. Okay? All right. See, okay, go ahead.
Hi, Chan Master Gilbert. Thank you for your teachings. I have a question related to right view, which you spoke about a little bit. How do we stay on course with right view and perhaps also help others along? And I ask this in the context of, being exposed to maybe friends who are a little bit more like the Theravadan monk that you described, with certain attitudes to others. And I have also friends on the other end that are very liberal and, practicing magic and co-opting Buddhist ideology into that, and perhaps misrepresenting and on the verge of leading others possibly on the wrong path. So that informs my question on right view.
Allow me to read something magically appears. This is for you. It says right view. Theravada. Remember, this is Theravada. The right view of the Four Noble Truths develops in two stages. First, it is called the right view that accords with truths. And the second, the right view that penetrates the truths. To acquire right view that accords with the truths requires clear understanding of their meaning and significance in our lives. Such an understanding arises first by learning the truths and studying them. Subsequently, it is deepened by the reflecting upon them in the light of experience until one gains a strong conviction as to their veracity. So we see it in this way. But even at this point, the truths have not been penetrated. To arrive at the experiential realization of the truths, it is necessary to take up the practice of meditation. First, strengthen the capacity for sustained concentration, which is Theravada all the way, then develop insight. Insight arises by contemplating the five aggregates, the factors of existence, in order to discern their real characteristics, which is absolute emptiness. At the climax of such contemplation, the mind-eye turns away from the conditioned phenomena and becomes accessible through the deepened faculty of insight, is what we as Chan practitioners say, you turn the mind's eye inward. Now, bear in mind, this is a Theravada talking about this, and it's not too far from Chan. It's just at a higher level than somebody holding on to basic Theravada training, but the Theravadans at the high level, they're no different than the Chan practitioners. It's just ignorance that makes the difference. I'm not saying their friends are ignorant exactly. Okay. Nirvana, which comprised in the aggregates and shifts its focus to the unconditioned state. Again, this is back into unconditioned state of Mahayana, but this is Theravada, but it's unconditioned, the non-conceptual mind. Unconditioned, there is the conditioned mind, which people cling to, and the unconditioned mind, which is your true nature. So within this turning the mind's eye inward, then the unconditioned true nature is present. With this shift, when the mind's eye sees nirvana, there takes place a simultaneous penetration of all the Four Noble Truths. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, and no path. This is the second level. By seeing the aggregates, the state beyond dukkha, suffering, one gains a perspective from which to view the five aggregates and see that they are dukkha simply because they are conditioned, subject to ceaseless change. At the same moment, nirvana is realized, craving stops, and understanding then dawns that the craving is the true origin of dukkha. So this is getting close to the first of the 12 nidanas of ignorance, and seeing that the suffering, this is there. So this is them reverse engineering all the way to ignorance. At the same moment, nirvana is realized, craving stops. Oh, excuse me, I already read. When nirvana is seen, it is realized to be a state of peace, free from turmoil of becoming. That's the 12 nidanas is becoming ignorant, becoming this, becoming that, becoming desire. And because this experience has been reached by practicing the Eightfold Path, one knows for oneself the Eightfold Path is truly the way to end the end of dukkha. The Eightfold Path on ours, the only difference is it's demonstrated that there is no suffering there, rather than trying to get to the point of realizing there's no suffering. There is no suffering. So if you want afterwards, you can take a picture of this and share it with your friends. And again, do you think it's by accident that I have this here as a very top one?
Thank you, Master Gilbert. I think we have come to the end of our session. Up to short question, and Master Gilbert can give a short answer.
Oh, okay. Master Gilbert, can I ask a question? I need your advice because I'm going to help a cancer patient who could be dying in the near future.
Speak a little slower.
Okay. This cancer patient could be dying in the very near future, or it could be a year later. So she's a Buddhist. She regretted that she did not practice hard in this life. And she have a very big question that is, why create in this way? They have suffering. So I told her there's no creator. And because of our karma, that we come back to do all this thing. So, but today you're talking about the mind create everything. So can you help me to, how to help this cancer patient?
How far advanced is her cancer?
It's stage 4, recurring and chemo resistant. So most likely, if she still can prolong, it could be a few months or maybe a year.
So she's not in hospice yet, right?
Not yet, but it might be soon if it's not working.
You've heard a lot today or during this retreat. So you teach her the best you can.
Okay.
You don't have to, my master used to say that if somebody asks you what pork tastes like, but you've never tasted pork, but you've smelled it cooking, at least you can tell them what pork smells like. And so you don't worry that, oh, I'm not enlightened, so how can I be seeing? You use your heart to tell her at least what you know, okay? And so you use your heart in this way. This is what our practice is. You don't have to wait to become enlightened. You help her. This is the most important time in her life, because these questions come up because she's facing death. And so as you do this, you have to begin with baby steps, just baby steps, and say, talk to her about Pratika Samappada. Talking about Pratika Samappada is talking to her about the Buddha, but you're not using the name the Buddha. And so when you talk to her, then you allow her to understand more that it is the holding of things and the fear and confusion which causes the suffering. And this is important so that she's able to, later on, to let go and transition out. You should also be mindful of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, to study that in preparation to help her. You can help her ease out. Okay, you just be patient and present the Dharma to her and her ability to understand. Okay, this is something that happens all the time. And I even helped one monastic whose mother was not quite a Buddhist, but she was so concerned for her mother, and I helped her. And at the mother's death, they were both reciting the Buddha's name. And so it can work. It just depends on her causes and conditions and your ability to help her. And if your ability is there and her ability to listen to you sincerely, you can make a great change to her. So it's understood. By you telling me what she said, I understood right away where she's at. Okay. She's in a place that she's looking for the answer to those questions, wondering how can this be so inequitable in this way? If you're a creator, how can you cause such suffering to people? And so you have to begin to tell her, and even the baby steps of the Four Noble Truths by the Theravadins, and then move from there to there is no suffering. But try. This is our practice. This is what we do. Okay, and it makes a big difference. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Master Gilbert. Sorry, my apologies. It's break time. For 10-minute break for Master Gilbert to rest and for you all to take
Coming back?
yeah, we are over.
Ask more
You,
questions.
yeah, so maybe another half an hour if you're not
Okay.
too tired. We are overworking you. Usually it's 2 to 4. That's why I thought it's time's up, but we put in the poster 2 to 5. So yeah. So help yourself to some coffee and tea, and we'll give Master Gilbert a break.
You can take a picture if you want.
Yeah, can.
Join palms. Bow. Bow. Amitofo. We go back to the questions.
It's next, the next person just now. There. Thank you.
This is number 2 question, right? $25.
Thank you very much. I have a question. Teacher Gilbert talked a lot about sincerely, like practice sincerely and sincerity. Can you talk more about sincerity in practice? Because does it mean that without hoping, without expecting? So I give you a little bit of context. I have some obstacles in life or in my practice. For example, drowsiness or wandering thoughts. So I was advised to chant the mantra, Tizang Pusa mantra, Om Pra Marudani Soha. But then it seems like it didn't improve the situation. And even kind of worse is after we went for Bodhisattva precept, I volunteered. And when we came back, things doesn't improve also. So it's kind of affect my practice, and I feel a bit disheartened. So I want to understand what is sincerity, and have I been practicing it wrong? Thank you.
Yeah, there's different parts of this question. Why did they have you want to recite the Disanpusa mantra?
Is to strengthen my mind, and that mantra is to build persistence, the strength of my mind, the heart.
The sincerity comes from your intrinsic nature, from somewhere very deep beyond any idea of an ego or self. It is something that's there that comes because of the practice, and in that practice, one is practicing mind. I don't see the Disampusa mantra as being that beneficial to you. You can recite Guan Yin's name, and I think that would connect you a little bit better. But when we have obstructions such as this, what also helps is prostrations and transfer of merit. Also, you can use a shame and repentance practice, which would be good. I'm not saying you're a bad person, but I'm just saying a lot of times these obstructions will be broken by a shame and repentance practice of that and transferring merit to anyone or any things that you have harmed in the past. And if you get past that, you just transferring merit to whoever sentient beings you feel connected with, and it will work. So it's okay in terms of that, but I think that will help you in terms of overcoming these blockages that come. Your blockages are indeed karmic, so they can be fixed, but you just have to know how to fix them. And you just reciting Guan Yin's name at whenever it comes up, the more you recite, the more you will it'll come up automatically. Like for me, to recite the name of Amitabha Buddha is just very natural. And then sometimes in the evening I'll recite Guan Yin, and that comes up also naturally with it. But normally I'll recite Amitabha's name during the day, and after a while you don't have to remember to recite it; it just comes up, and you feel very comfortable with that. And so this is the sincerity that will come up. The sincerity is very, very important. So instead of playing like you're a Buddhist, you are a Buddhist because you're using the Buddha mind. And that changes things a lot, okay? You'll be fine. Yeah. All right, other questions?
Master Gilbert, can you share with us the methodology of the Hua Tou meditation?
In 25 words or less. What Hua Tou are you using? You're not using a Hua Tou. The Hua Tou is something. Sometimes it's good to I have to say goodbye to all my friends here. We'll use what is Wu, what is this emptiness, but it can be anything. I don't like who am I? I don't think that's a good one, even though some people use it. I think when you say who am I, every time you say I, you're reinforcing that there's an I there. And so it doesn't really work well. But we say, just for the sake it's easy to write, what is Wu? And you can do it in Chinese. So how do you say it in Chinese? Somebody said it? Yeah. Okay. So whatever they said, you say it. So what is Wu? You bring up the question, and again, this is a very short version, but what you want to do is, as soon as you ask the question, then the mind, after it's finished, it instantly comes to the front, because the term Hua Tou is before the word. So you want to, what is Wu? Boom, and you're there. What is Wu? What is Wu? What is Wu? But your mind instantly brings it back to here. And what's happening is you want to know where this is coming from. Okay, you don't want to say, oh, I understand what Wu is now. It's a meaningless term. All you want to know is where it's coming from. What is Wu? What is Wu? So you come here and you want to see it. By the time you get to the front, it's already out again. So you have to go faster with the mind to do that. If you say, what is woo? And you go pizza. What is woo? Oh, I want pizza. What is woo? Donut. Then you're late in coming to the front. You're late getting there. So you're not going to see it coming. You want to be there. It's like you rushing to make sure you see the sunrise. Okay? You want to know. Some people who are really lazy never have seen the sunrise. No. But you want to be able to see where it's coming from. So when you come here, at some point, you may see it coming up, but as you see it coming up, it's coming up. It's not coming up backwards, it's coming up this way. What is woo? Sort of. So it's coming up in this way. But at least you caught it coming up. You caught it. It's like a mole. You guys don't even have any ground, so I can't even talk to you about like a lawn with a mole in it, you know. So you have a mole coming up. And so rats. So moles come up, you know, and it's hard to see a mole. Every once in a while I'm able to see one, but when they come up and they go down very quickly. But here it's coming out like a mole out of the ground. What ground? The mind ground. This is the source of everything where it's coming out. So you want to keep coming up to be able to, at one point in time, be able to start seeing it coming out of there. So when it's what is woo, and we see it, what is woo? It will slow down on its own when the mind begins to slow down. When it stops looking at the pizza and the donut, then it goes, oh, remember, I'm working on the Huatou. So it comes back to the beginning. All you're concerned about is where it's coming. And there may be a time when you get there before the question arises. This is when the mind is actually working so fast that everything appears to be in slow motion. And it's in there. This takes a long time. And you're looking in. And you have to try to remember, what am I looking for? And there may be a time when you're looking in and it just absorbs you. That's a Huatou in a nutshell. I don't want to talk about it in a way where, you know, there's a particular experience, but that's what you do. The most important thing is call the question up and then immediately come to where it's coming out from. You're looking at the source of where the word came from. This is the important part. So that's Huatou. It requires a lot of effort, but it's pretty good if one can do it in the right way. Then it will bring about a good experience. Okay. All right. Next question. Over here, she went up first. Where's the microphone? Oh, you already have it. Oh my God. This is like your fifth question, so it's up to $50 now.
Question.
All right, okay.
Master Gilbert, I want to ask about sharing merits with others and because if it happens that you have the ability to hear or see somebody or even if you just want to help other people, won't you worry or that the person's sickness will get to you? Or wouldn't you feel fearful when for example, when they hear that voice? Because I feel that I would crave for that abilities, but I don't want to help people because it scares people when you can hear their backs, or if you can hear the sufferings that they're suffering. So, my question is, do you feel fearful, or don't you feel worried that their sickness will get to you?
No. One through their own sincerity, they will be protected. So that there's not something that's going to do that. Sometimes when, for instance, if somebody is a healer and they're giving a treatment, the illness that the person has can jump to the person that's treating them. And that's normally when they're vexed by a spirit or a ghost. And so if you're a healer, you have to be aware of whether the person has a regular physical injury or a karmic injury or illness or vexed by a spirit or a ghost. And so when you handle them differently, but just to give generosity to people, no, you normally don't have that unless you're treating them and trying to remove the spirit. If somebody's trying to remove a spirit or an enemy from a person, it's very dangerous. And just simply giving, like somebody's ill or something and transferring merit, that's different. But if there's a person and you're trying to remove that entity from them, that entity can jump to you, and that can cause you serious injury. So it's not something that you play with that. And don't call Ghostbusters. Okay. But that's different when you're actually trying to heal a person or take something that's influencing away from them. Wait, what happened to your microphone? Quite the end.
How about the fear? Like if you are transferring merits to the people, do you feel the fear because you kind of can feel their suffering, or is that just a mind-made thing?
You understand their fear, you sense their fear, but that fear is like Disan Pusa is in hell, but doesn't get burned by the flames or frozen by the coldness of hell. It doesn't affect them because it's all created by the mind. So there's not a fear of transferring merit or helping people in that way. You will not be affected by it. The way I explained it was in terms of somebody trying to remove some entity that's vexing a person, but just simply transferring merit to people in general, nothing's going to jump and get you. Okay. All right. Next question. You're up to $75 a question.
You're more than welcome to it. Quick one. How does one help a family member or a friend with severe anxiety, chronic anxiety, and low self-esteem? Thank you.
the first thing is that the person that has it, they have to want to be helped. It's very hard to help somebody with a low self-esteem to be helped, because they go, well, you can't help me, it's just the way it is. And you start talking to them and say, see, you can't help me. But they have to want to get out of it. And then when they want to get out of it, the most important thing, and this is a distinction, is that you listen to what they're saying, but you don't let them just download their misery on you. There's a difference. When somebody's talking about and saying, I feel this way, and is moving towards something, is great. But other times, like Master Shen Yang used to say, people come here and they always want to dump their garbage on me. That's a difference. When they just want to tell you how miserable they are, they're just dumping garbage on you. They're not really wanting to help. They just want somebody. Misery loves company. So you have to make sure that the person wants help. And I've had people do that. Somebody called me up at 3 a.m. in the morning. Don't call me up at 3 a.m. in the morning. And want help. And I say, I will help you, but I'm not just going to listen to misery. If you want a solution and want me to listen to you and working towards a solution, then I will listen. But I don't want to listen to how miserable you are. There's a difference. So if the person is willing to work towards a solution, then you can listen to them. But it's not something like you're there like a priest listening to a confession. You're trying to work towards helping the person. If the person is sincere and they recognize the sincerity in your listening, your heart will guide you as to what to say to them, depending on what's happening with them. But you essentially use your wisdom, you lend your wisdom to them to help them. Okay, whatever comes up, you'll see it will work that way. But again, it's conditioned upon them wanting help, not just somebody to dump their trash on. Okay. All right, next question.
Thanks, Master Gilbert, for the teachings. So yesterday, I think you shared about samadhi itself is not enough. So when the mind is in samadhi, there still have to be that investigation part. So how to create that distance to do this when the mind is so stable?
How to create what?
So yesterday you were talking about this during the sun illumination, that when the mind is steady, there still have to be this additional
Illumination.
yeah, this, I don't know how you call it. Is it observation, investigation? So how to do it simultaneously when the mind is already so stable?
It is what Dao Xin said. You continue to maintain the mind of awareness. So this maintaining the mind of awareness keeps it from just falling into a dead cave, where the samadhi is there, the mind is still, but it's like the same as sitting in a refrigerator with the door closed. You're just chilling, nothing's happening. But when one has the illumination, it has to be balanced with the samadhi. The stillness is there, but this illumination comes. And it's difficult because when we're talking about this illumination, it is not the consciousness, it is the mind's own awareness that arises. And so one has to distinguish between the difference. If one is simply fabricating something in the mind to mimic illumination, you mess it all up. It's still not bad, you're quiet and everything, but you're still in a dream. Whereas the other one, there's a clarity there. It's unmistakable clarity that's different from manufacturing a light that's shining on you, or manufacturing something. The mind is still, there's no thinking. And it enables the radiant light of the mind to shine through. But if you try to imagine what does the radiant light of the mind look like, you mess it up. So there isn't anything that you can say conceivable to describe what that illumination is. One day it'll happen, and you'll know the difference. Until then, don't try to make any kind of a conception of what it's like, because you'll just trap yourself into that kind of a thing. Or sometimes people will get into what's called unified mind. And unified mind is a nice place, but you can't. It's like you're traveling on the train and they go, next stop, unified mind. And you're looking at, oh, that looks really good. Don't get off the train. If you get off the train and you go into unified mind, you can get stuck there because it feels so good. Nothing's there. It's like the ego now has jumped out of your body and superimposes itself over the whole room. So if you look for the ego, you can't find it. And the people think that this is enlightenment, but it's not. It is just the mind at rest, mimicking illumination. Because you can't see the ego, because it's like now become some kind of a plastic wrap over the environment. It's like the people in the old days in the 60s, they used to put clear vinyl over their sofas. Big mistake if you're in Southern California. You need the paramedics to peel you off of the sofa, in the summertime. But people would do it because they had a forever sofa, never get dirty, but not a good idea. So you don't want, unified mind is just like that. You don't want to go into it. It's pleasurable and it looks good, but if you stay there long enough, it's going to stick to you. And so you don't want to do that. You have to develop a sophistication in your meditation to be able to move past that. The difficulty is once one gets into it, it's difficult to get out of it. It's like a skip in a record. And so you just go back, oh, pleasure, 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 but it's not leading to the true illumination of the mind. It's mimicking it. And so you have to understand that. You have to understand that the idea of the illusory self, it's very clever, but it's also afraid. It's afraid that it's going to be discovered that it's illusory. So it utilizes many sophisticated tools to hide itself, and unified mind is one of those. And so people think that that's there. Normally they'll say the birds were chirping, the sun was shining, the clouds are in the sky, or whatever. And that's kind of a dead giveaway when somebody's gotten into unified mind. Although I've had people that are novices get into unified mind in 2 days following my method of meditation. Not bad. I've had people even blow right through unified mind, which is even better. But because they weren't used to meditating, they didn't know what to do after that. It was like somebody escaping from prison and then going, where do I go now? I don't know. I've never been out of prison. And so they just wander around and they can't figure out anything. But at least they made the jailbreak, which was pretty good. So anyway, so that's a little bit of unified mind. Just be patient with it and it will come. Again, it just has to be sincere. the important part is trust in the instructions of the well-known advisor in terms of getting that, but make sure that they are a well-known advisor, okay? That somebody is there that really has experience in this, so that they can help you. So if you ever have questions about those, then join my Mindwork forum and you can ask your questions there, and I'll respond to you. If you join my Mindwork forum, don't private messenger me unless it's something, like, how do I get over my heroin addiction or whatever, don't ask general questions there, because it's not a good use of my time. If they're Dharma questions, put them in the general forum and I'll respond to them. More likely I'll respond to them there, or I'll tell you, post them in the forum and I'll respond to it. And then everybody can benefit from that. Okay, who else has a question?
Thank you, Master Gilbert.
Are we done?
We are done, but if you want one last question, then
2 questions. I'll give her one last one and he'll have questions.
no, there's what she put up her hand.
Somebody over here first?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll do the 3 and then. make-
No. We will have one last question. So the rest who has
Question.
asked already, who hasn't asked their question?
Who has a question?
Hasn't
there?
asked
Not-
their question today? Only. Did you
Nobody?
ask earlier? You asked today? Oh, okay.
All right, then we finished.
Yeah,
then.
we will end there.
I'll-
Sadhu, sadhu.
Lifetime I'll answer.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Master Gilbert. Would you like to, for the past 3 days, we have been doing merits a lot. Would you like to do your style of leading the merit sharing?
You can read the merit and that's fine.
Okay. You say.
And as you're doing that, you can also transfer merit for you participating in this retreat to whoever you want to do that you feel that you need to, they may need some benefit, or you can transfer it to all sentient beings